What would you do if you came face to face with the person who murdered your children? Would you be able to contain your rage, your sorrow, your grief? Or would you collapse under the weight of it all? This is not a question born out of fiction. It is not a scene from a movie. This is a real story. A story of one father, one man, who walked through the gates of one of the most notorious maximum security prisons in the world, knowing that inside those walls sat the man who had taken everything from him. Not money, not property, but his children. And in an extraordinary, almost unimaginable moment, that father came face to face with the killer of his own children. The prison was cold that morning. The air carried with it the weight of silence, interrupted only by the metallic clang of the gates slamming shut behind him. Every sound, the shuffle of shoes, the creak of the heavy steel doors, the faint buzz of security lights, seemed magnified, as though the entire building itself was alive, breathing, waiting. The father's footsteps echoed through the corridor as guards led him deeper and deeper into the belly of the prison. With every step, his mind battled itself. Memories of laughter, of the innocent voices of his children, played like broken records in his head. And alongside them, flashes of horror, the unbearable reality of how they were taken from him. His hands trembled slightly, but not from fear, from something else, from holding back the storm of rage that threatened to consume him. The meeting had been arranged through a program few ever hear about, a program designed to bring together victims and offenders in an attempt to find some sliver of healing, some chance of closure. But how do you find closure when the life of your child has been stolen? How do you even begin to put words to a pain that cuts deeper than the soul itself? And yet, he came, because deep down, he needed something. Answers maybe, or the strength to confront his own nightmares. As he entered the sterile meeting room, his eyes immediately locked on the figure seated on the other side. The man, the killer, the one who had shattered his world. He wasn't what the father had expected. No horns, no monstrous figure, just a man, flesh and blood. A man who looked older than his years, worn down by prison life. Yet, no amount of decay could erase what he had done. The father's body stiffened, his chest tightening as if invisible hands were pressing against his lungs. For a moment, he thought he might collapse, but he forced himself forward. He sat down. The room fell into a silence so thick it was suffocating. Two men, one table, a history of death between them. The killer spoke first. His voice was rough, carrying years of confinement within it. "I know nothing I say will ever change what I did," he said quietly. "I took from you what can never be replaced. I don't expect forgiveness, but I need to face you." The father clenched his fists beneath the table. Every instinct screamed at him to leap across, to shout, to demand why. Why his children? Why them? Why did this man think he had the right to decide their fate? But instead, he sat. He listened. As the conversation unfolded, layers of humanity that the father never thought possible began to reveal themselves. The killer spoke of his past, his broken upbringing, his mistakes, his spiral into darkness. Not excuses, just context. And though the father's heart screamed against it, he found himself listening, not with forgiveness, but with a strange, painful curiosity. Because hearing this man speak didn't lessen the crime. It didn't erase the horror, but it did something unexpected. It forced the father to confront the reality that evil, in this case, didn't come as a faceless monster. It came as a man, a human being. At one point, the father finally spoke. His voice was steady, though his heart trembled. "Do you know what you took from me?" he asked. The killer lowered his eyes. "I do," the father continued, his words cutting through the silence. "You didn't just take their lives, you took birthdays, you took first loves, you took graduations, weddings, children they would never have. You killed futures, you killed parts of me." The killer nodded slowly, tears welling in his eyes. "And I will live with that until the day I die." The father stared at him, and in that moment, something shifted. Not forgiveness, not absolution, but the faintest flicker of power. For so long, grief had owned him. Rage had dictated his nights. The memory of his children's deaths had left him powerless, broken. But now, sitting face to face with the man responsible, he realized something extraordinary. He wasn't powerless anymore, because he could choose. He could choose what to do with this moment. Would he let hatred consume him entirely, or would he reclaim his life piece by piece by refusing to let this man's evil define the rest of his own story? While the meeting went on, words were exchanged, pain was laid bare, and when it was over, the father rose from his chair. He didn't forgive, he didn't forget, but he walked out of that room with something unexpected. Not peace, but clarity. The killer remained behind bars. The father returned to a world without his children, but the moment of confrontation, the extraordinary courage it took to face the darkest chapter of his life, would stay with him forever. And now I ask you, if you were that father, what would you have done? Could you sit across from the person who took your children's lives? Could you listen? Could you speak? Could you even breathe? Tell me in the comments below. And if this story moved you, if it made you think about the depths of human strength, resilience, and pain, make sure you subscribe for more real stories like this. Share this with your friends and family, because these are the moments that remind us of what it truly means to be human.